Fragments of silicon. Do not eat.
All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Daylight Interviews. Right, joining us this week is, I hope I pronounced this correctly. I'm like, it's always a roll of the dice.
Give it a try, give it a try.
Right, we're welcoming Tiago, Zaidan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, in Portuguese, it's called Tiago, Zaidan, but the way you said it's perfect. I mean, you rocked it.
Good. That's good. That's good. We're always worried when we, have people from different nations and different pronunciations on the broadcast. But anyway, so how we like to get started is we like to get to know the people behind the studio, the games, and all of that business. And we start by asking this particular question. What got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Okay, so awesome. So when I was young, I used to play a game called. First of all, my father he introduced us to a lot of different games when my brother and I were little. So my brother is my partner in Gamecraft Studios, and then we started growing. It was mostly educational games. But when we start growing, we played a game called Tibia. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. It was really big here in Brazil. There are a lot of Polish people playing too. It's an MMORPG, pixel art MMORPG, and they had some servers that players could try themselves, create a server so people can join. It used to call Open Tibia. And when I was like 10 years old, I created one, and all of a sudden, like 300 people joined my server, and it was crazy because I got a taste of what creating something for other people would be. So that was a really point of interest for me. And I'm also really a huge movie fan, so I really like this entertainment area. So when I was little, I used to think about going to become a movie director or a game director. And when I got like 17, 18 years old, game director seemed more plausible. So I went to this side, but around 12, I made a movie with my brother too, and it was really cool. I mean, we filmed the whole thing here. So I had a taste of both games and movie, but yeah, games got my attention. And after that, I started TDZ Games that became Gamecraft Studios now. So yeah.
And how long ago was Gamecraft founded?
Okay, so we were founded in 2014. We were founded as TDZ Games, but we changed our name in 2020 to Gamecraft Studios. But we've been making games since professionally 2014. And you mentioned professionally. I answered only to a more personal level. But when we're from Brazil, in Brazil it's really different. Are you all from America, United States?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so it's very different because the gaming market here is really young. I mean, the game development market. And around 2010, we had only a few companies here, so it was not a reality for us to create games in Brazil. What we think of was, people that became game developers from Brazil usually went to America or Europe or Japan, something like that. And that was my plan when I was in college. But there was a particular festival in 2013 that I attended, and there were some indie companies from Brazil showcasing games that were on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, And so I figured that it was possible to create my own game back then. So it became a reality, and my brother and I decided to create TDZ games in 2014. And we started developing Eliosis Hunt. That's our first game. I only sent you footage of Vampire Hunters. That's our latest game. But I mean, if you go to our Steam page, you can see all the games that we worked on. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going with the live gameplay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Since you actually sent us a code of Vampire Hunters. But we'll get to Vampire Hunters in due time. Because how many games have you done? Just looking at your website, I see quite a few of them here.
Yeah, so we developed some games of our own. So that's Eliosis Hunt, Rogue Summoner, Force Spotter, and Vampire Hunters. But we did work on a lot of different games from other companies. That's when we changed our name to Gamecraft Studios, because we started to do a little bit of work for hire. So we did a lot of porting. So we did some programming, and we also co-developed a game with Choice Provisions. That's Beat Trip Rerunner. So they're really famous with their Beat Trip Runner series, and they invited us to create the new game with them. So we handled all the programming for the Beat Trip Rerunner. And it was really cool because that's the first co-development that we did, because the other jobs that we had was more like work for hire, and this one was a co-development. So, but games that we created ourselves were those four: Leo's Hunt, Force Spotter, Rogue Summoner, and now Vampire Hunters.
And how does co-development work out versus your own independent projects?
Yeah, so the first thing is you're getting paid. I mean, not always, but in our case, we were getting paid for the people that were programming the game. So that's the biggest difference for us. And we also so it's their IP, so they were the ones handling the direction of the game, and we were programming, but we also had some stake in giving feedback and stuff like that, because I mean, we took a big part of the development, right? So for us, the biggest difference is the financial security, but also having a partner that is more experienced than us is really cool, because I mean, they've been making games for way longer than we are. So it was a really great experience to be inside the development of a game and participating in all the meetings and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was a great experience.
That's good to hear. And are you still doing co-development in the present?
So right now we are porting Beat Trip Rerunner with Choice Provisions, and we may or may not. They're still pitching new games, so we may work with them again. But one thing that we are not focusing right now anymore is work for hire, because we did a lot of work for hire in 2021, 2022, and some in 2023. It was good because it allowed us to make some cash, because the independent game market is really tough, but that's what we really want. So now we are focusing more on Vampire Hunters. We're starting to prototype a new game of our own too. And if something's like what we had on with B3P Runner happens in this co-development arrangement, we're definitely interested in that too, because it's really, really nice.
Okay, so basically you're currently focused on Bit Trip and Vampire Hunters unless some sort of opportunity arises.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, fair enough. And I guess we'll start with Bit Trip Rerunner first, since that's the external project. How did you first, did you approach Choice Provisions, or did they approach you about doing Rerunner?
Okay, so it was really nice, because I think that, I mean, all of those relationships, they usually start smaller and they keep growing, right? So the first contact that we had with Choice was because they were looking for developers to port their game Hextech Mayhem that they did with Riot Forge to Netflix games, because they had a deal with Netflix games, and they were focusing the game for PC and Switch, and they needed someone that are good in programming, and that was us, right? So we contacted them and we start porting the Hextech Mayhem to Netflix games, and I mean this relationship worked really well. I mean it was really good, and they really loved us, and we loved them too. So they invited us to work with them in the Beat Trip Rerunner game, and we also did a different project with them too. That was the zombie typocalypse for the Anything world. So it was a smaller game that we could. I mean, it was not a code development; it was more like a service. But we also worked with them there too, so they got to know us better. And then we were ready to partner up in Beat Trip Rerunner.
Okay. It's nice when relationships blossom like that. And were you familiar with the Bit Trip series previous to Rerunner?
No, I was not, but it was really nice because a lot of people were. So I mean, when we started talking and telling people that, I mean, even people here from Brazil that we were working on the Beat Trip series, they were, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of the Beat Trip. And that was really magical for us because that was the first time that we were developing something that people were super excited, right? So when we told them, so yeah, it was really nice.
Well, I mean, that's good. And I'm assuming you were able to acclimate to the franchise fairly quickly. I mean,
yeah,
it's, this is not a knock or anything, but the Bit Trip series, runner included, has always been known for its accessible gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would call it simple, but I've played Bit Trip games. I mean, we covered Rerunner last year, and
Cool.
it's it's simple in that Nintendo style where, okay, yeah, there's not a lot of mechanics necessarily, but it's not a simple game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, I really like these kind of games because they're really straight to the point, right? And it's really simple to start playing it, but it's really hard to master it. And I mean, when I started to play the other runners series and other Beat Trip runners, I really fell in love with Choice. I mean, as developers, because we were already familiar with them as people that we were working on the porting, and we really liked it because it's as I mentioned, it's a simple concept. It's just like jumping and stuff like that, but it can get really deep as you progress. And they are amazing artists. They're really good at creating beautiful games, and that's something that I mean, not struggle, but I mean, my brother and I, we have programming background. We do have artists in our team, but that's something that we always look up to. I mean, people that are really good at making beautiful games. So that's something that really shines on Beat Trip Rerunner too, because it's really beautiful. And Hextech Mayhem too. I mean, it's a Riot game, right? So it's really beautiful.
Right. And what was your experience with Unreal Engine 5 previous to Rerunner, if any?
Okay, so we've been using Unreal 4 for quite a long time. Our first game, Eliosis Hunt, was using Unreal 4. And then we did some work for hire projects on other games that we used Unreal 4, and there were some that we used Unreal 5. But Beat Trip Run was the first game we developed entirely. I mean, we participated in the entire development using Unreal 5. And yeah, it was really good. I mean, we do love custom engine too. I mean, first Sparta game was custom engine, and we did some work for hire in custom engines. But we do like working on Unreal. I mean, the powerful graphics that you can come up with it's really cool.
Yeah. Because remembering the rerunner press materials, it mentioned that this is Choice Provision's first game in Unreal Engine 5. And I think they mentioned that they had some struggles with the engine initially because they never printed.
Yeah.
I figure. Anyway, go ahead.
They have one programmer there that was scared that you used to work on the other games with them, and they were all Unity, and the first ones was custom engine, so they were really good at Unity. And that's what was one of the things that really made this partnership work really well, because they wanted to move to Unreal, and we were really good in Unreal. So when we got to the development, we did teach them a lot. I mean, a lot of things that we learned, and so it was difficult because of that, right? So it was their first Unreal game, but for us, we are more familiar with that.
And did you end up teaching Choice Provisions a few things about Unreal?
Yeah, definitely. And they teach us a lot about game design, art. So yeah, it was a really good knowledge exchange there.
Well, that's good. It's always pleasing to hear about a collaboration that is fruitful and productive.
Yeah.
And let me see. So, how did the division of labor work exactly? Like, what parts of the game did you handle, and what did Choice end up doing?
Okay, so they handle all the art, all the design, all the music, and as I mentioned, they had one programmer in their site that was like the lead programmer, handling the most of the handling the decision making, and we had the brute force here of programmers, and so we handle all the programming with this other programmer. And one thing that we did that was really good was the level editor. That was something that they really wanted in the game, and they were like, "How gonna do that?" So we took that front. But I mean, we took care of the programming side, and the other things they did. And now that we are porting the game, we are also handling the porting.
Can you mention to which systems you're porting BitTrip Rerunner 2 at this point in time?
So I'm not sure if they have announced it officially yet, so I won't say it. But yeah, but they're probably gonna tell the media where for what systems it's coming. But I mean, it's for all the big ones.
Okay. So. Just to be clear, you are saying that the BitTrip Rerunner is in development for all of the major consoles.
Okay, so we're developing for sure for PlayStation and Xbox. In Nintendo Switch, we're not sure yet. It will depend on how the performance goes, but they're probably gonna release a press release in a while telling all the goodies about the release. But yeah, for now it's PlayStation and Xbox.
Okay, I'm not surprised at that because once again, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game, and I do want to emphasize that to the audience. And like the Nintendo Switch is quite the antiquated piece of hardware. Now, I've heard that Unreal Engine 5 actually works better than Unreal Engine 4, but that doesn't necessarily mean that a game will perform well on the system. So, anyway, putting that aside, I do want to talk about Rerunner's editor, because I know Choice Provisions was very proud of that.
Yeah.
And going so far as to call this project the Mario Maker of the BitTrip series.
Yeah.
So was it a daunting task to, is make a level editor here? Is is the level editor just the development tools that you used, or did you have to like build something for the common user?
Yeah, so it's really cool because working with Choice, it's really special because they really love making the game like almost perfect, right? So I mean, it's like having a baby, right? So they really take care of that. So they really want it working perfectly for the community. So I mean, the hardest part was making it the way they wanted, and something that was really cool was that we developed the level editor thinking of, okay, so if Alex, the designer, creates the Bitrip rerunner levels using the editor, it's awesome for marketing, right? Because it means that everything in the game was created with the same tool that the players have. So that's something that they wanted. So we created this level editor thinking both on Alex, the game designer, and also the community. So the entire levels of the game were created in the level editor. So that was really, really special for us.
Interesting. Like, and were there any sort of difficulties in bringing the level editor together?
I mean, that was the back end part that's something harder for us, and they put a freelance in their side to help because we're because it involved all the I mean having the players to submit their levels and making other players to play it. So it was I think that was the hardest part because we had to compress the levels in a way that we could store them and people could download it and play the levels of the other players. So that was something that was a kind of difficulty, but we handled really well with the help of the freelance. And it's also the usability, right? So it's really hard to create a level editor because there's a lot of things in a game that you can use to create a level. So we needed to, and then we worked with the Choice really close to make sure that the level editor was really good to use. So that was something that we need to iterate a lot too.
And who keeps an eye on the levels that are built? Is that a task that you guys handle, or is that Choice Provisions deal?
No, it's usually Choice. They are the one closer to community. So everything that community is creating, the community is talking, it's Choice.
Makes sense. But do you ever like play any of the users?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I didn't participate in the development of the game. It was my brother and some people from our team, and they were really close to the entire community as people developed the levels, and they did a lot of testing too. I mean, if everything was working, so yeah.
Okay. Now I want to shift a bit to the music of Rerunner, because I know, like, you know, it's a bunch of greatest hit stuff, but like, if I'm remembering, I want to say like there was some remixes as well as some new tracks.
Yeah. So they wanted to bring something from the old games that people really loved, and with the modern technology, right? So we had some other test tracks, and they also created new ones for the game. And there is something really cool that we also created with them is the music maker, right? So there was a post-release update that allowed people to create their own songs in this music editor to put on their levels, because when we released the game first, they could use only the songs from Bitrip Runner and other Bitrip games. But something that people were asking me was, can we make the song that we put in the game? So we decided to create this song editor, and it was really cool.
And are there any sorts of other bits and bobs of post-release content planned for Rerunner, or is it just porting at this point?
Yeah, not for now. Now we're focusing on porting, But yeah, but the idea is people keep playing the game and we can keep expanding it.
Right. So before I move on, I'll see if my colleagues here have any other questions about Rerunner.
I think
I'm good.
All right. All right. So now we come to Vampire Hunters. If I'm remembering correctly, we also covered this game some months ago, though that was in a much earlier state. Like, just, I mean, just looking at the footage here, this is very different than what we had.
Yeah.
Because, at that point, that was just like the endless corridor.
Yeah.
Which, was okay, but I remember not particularly liking the presentation there. But, but that's why we do impressions of early access games, because we know they can, and you often do, change in development. But anyway, so in terms of Vampire Hunters, clearly it's inspired by Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
Or Vampire Survivor. Is it plural? Anyway.
Yeah, Survivors. Yes, some of them use Survivor, like Deep Rock Galactica, but Vampire Survivors is with an S. So we use Survivors, yeah. Okay.
And anyway, so what was the impetus to, take that formula into the first person here?
Okay. So that's really cool, because the development of Vampire Hunters has been a roller coaster. So when Vampire Hunters born in an internal game jam that we did back in 2022, so that was like right after Vampire Survivors released. Back then we had a lot of work for hire projects, but we did this sort of game jam so we can move. Breathe new air, right? So because working with clients can be a little daunting. So the idea was, how can we create Vampire Survivors in FPS? And when we started developing the game, we thought that moving around like we currently have would be really hard, because the FPS games that we have, they have fewer enemies, or it's different than the Survivors formula, right? They don't have a lot of things going on. So for us, going straight in a hallway made more sense because of the gameplay, especially because of the weapons, right? When we started prototyping this idea, we thought, what Vampire Survivors had? They have a lot of different weapons at once, right? They could combine all those powers. And in FPS, for us, it made sense to have a lot of guns, right? To keep stacking the powers as weapons. So we have the guns and the robotic arms and the passive arms too. And so once we had that figured, we thought, okay, so let's go to the gameplay. And with all this, all those weapons on the screen, it made more sense for us to keep moving forward, because you don't have to pay attention to your back, so you just focus on killing things in front of you. So that was the idea that we had for the game, and that's the beauty of early access, right? Because that's what we thought that would represent Survivors in FPS game. But once we released it, we got a lot of feedback from people asking, okay, so can we move it around? We thought that some people would ask about that, but it was like almost everyone. Everyone loved the concept, but they wanted to move freely, not just go in a highway. And so we started prototyping as the game was in early access. So after the release of the game in early access, we started thinking about this new mode that we call Survivors mode. We use Survivors mode just so we can sort of marketing, but the whole idea since day one was Vampire Survivors in FPS. And as we keep prototyping this new mode, some things that we had problem before started to work out, because the enemies were slower, so we could so you don't get a lot of enemies on your back. So it worked really well. And yes, so we released this map and everybody loved it. I mean, everybody gave us really good positive feedback. So now we're about to release the new map. So we have a new map coming next Thursday. So that's really cool. And that's what Vampire Hunters is for us now, right? So it's this this move freely, free in the area and stack a lot of weapons. But we decided to keep this old mode, right? We call it classic mode because there are some people that enjoy the highway, and we do like it too. We think that it does have some things that shine. For example, you can enjoy all the weapons more relaxing because you just keep moving forward and killing the enemies. But I think that what really represents the game right now is what you're currently playing. Yeah, and it's cool because the new map that we released, it's called Brotherhood Chateau. It's in the castle of the hunters. It's way better than this one because that's the first time that's the first map that came in our mind. So after that, we kept playing and prototyping, trying new things, and we learned a lot. And this new map, there is in the trailer that I sent you.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. I mean, it's we're super excited to see everybody playing it next Thursday.
Yeah. Right. Petty, if you could stop the live gameplay for a bit so you can so we can play that trailer.
Yep, I will pull that up one moment.
Right.
It's early access trailer 4 because there's 3 trailers there. Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, just give us a second here because we are live and we got to do this in real time.
Yeah. So, if you want to continue with the interview a little bit, I will pull up the drive.
That's fine. Well, I can interject here. I'm not surprised that people responded to the free look mode because a lot of FPSs are built like that, but it's also that's a key component of the original Vampire Survivors, being able to move. That's the part that people actually control in that game, and it's more
Survivors. In FPS.
Now it makes a lot of sense for us. But it's once you're creating something new, it's really hard because sometimes you don't see it clearly as we see right now. But we thought that it might not work. Having this free move on FPS. We know that there are a lot of FPS games, but they're a little bit different. It's not about stacking a lot of weapons. It's not about having a lot of enemies coming in all directions. We did have a lot of inspiration in COD Zombies. That's something that we used to play when we were young. But we thought that the hallway could represent more the idea of survivors. But now that we have this mode, it doesn't make sense, right? This mode is what represents the game, and we are really happy that we were able to, during the early access, so after release, we didn't release the game like this. We managed to create it. Yeah, so that's the new map. And for this new trailer, we tried to do something like start with the top-down camera so people can, so it's a survivors game top-down. And then we move it to first person. And this map is really cool because it does have some stairs that you can, and you can move better in the map. That's something that a lot of people gave us feedback about in the first map because it was kind of hard to move and kill all the enemies because there were some enemies that were a little bit strong there. And we used this feedback to create this map, and we are really happy with that. Yeah, so we have the open area, so you can go to the stairs like that, and you can kill enemies from afar. So it's really cool. And there is the inside of the castle too. That is it's harder to move in the inside, but it's really cool because you can lure all the monsters outside the castle, and then you can get inside the castle and kill less monsters. That's something cool too that we decided to create for this new mode. That's the characters, because before this update, the weapons were characters, right? So we had a lot of different weapons in the game, and we called the weapons the characters. but we thought that they were not unique, right? Because we had so many of them. So we decided to change the system, how it works. So now we have fewer characters, and they are more unique. So each one with play style, and they have skill trees that you can upgrade them.
Right. I think we saw a bit of the skill tree, or is that a new skill tree in the trailer?
I mean, we don't have skill tree in the game. We do have upgrades, but it's not a skill tree per se. But so now it's a whole different character system. And now we think that with this update, we think that we reached what we wanted with Vampire Hunters. I mean, as a game. So with this free moving mode and the characters with skill trees and unique play styles, and now it's just content, right? Because we spent a lot of time in the early access trying to figure out what the game was, and that's funny because it's usually before the release, right? But we did that with Vampire Hunters during the early access, but now we're super satisfied with what we achieved, and now we're planning to keep releasing more content, so more levels, more maps, more weapons, more relics, more characters.
Right, and that's going to be all in the update that's happening next week?
Yeah, so in the next week, it's the new map, the Brotherhood Chateau, and the character system. So there's 3 characters in the update. There's the Berserker, the Paladin, and the Scout. And after that, we have other updates planning that we're probably gonna release other maps, characters, and weapons.
Makes sense. What state of completion is Vampire Hunters at this point?
Yeah, so it's really hard to say that because I mean it's not a story game. It's a game that we can keep making content like forever. I mean if people are enjoying and playing it, we can keep releasing more maps. I mean there is not a fixed limited amount of maps that we can fit in the game. Mm-hmm. So for us, as I mentioned, we are happy with what the game is right now because that was something that we were not when we released the game in the early access. But we do know that we need a lot more content. But we're still not sure. I mean, how many maps you're gonna introduce or how many weapons, how many characters. It will depend a lot on the players, right? I mean, so as long as people are playing and asking for more content, we are happy to do it.
I mean, that is another part of the Vampire Survivors formula, at least Vampire Survivors itself. Like, that game keeps getting content released.
Yeah.
Though, I suppose more specifically, do you have an indicator of when you would consider this game to be 1.0 out of early access?
Okay, so we think that with around 4 maps, and around 8 to 10 characters, that was something that people could play for more than 100 hours. And I think that the 100 hours mark is something that is good for us. So we do plan if we reach this point and we are satisfied with that, we could go to 1.0. But as Vampire Survivors, we do have plans for more content after the 1.0. So the 1.0 is definitely not in. It's more okay, so that's the game. So that's what we have. That's a lot of content for you guys to play. That's what we think of when we think of 1.0. But after that, we definitely would continue making more maps, as I mentioned, as people are playing
it. That makes sense, I think. And I suppose we should shift a bit to the weapons because you mentioned, or as you call them, the characters. Are you introducing any new weapons with the new update?
Okay, so this update there won't be any new weapons because we released one just before this one focusing on weapons. So we usually try to focus on a map or weapons. Before this update, we were doing like that because as I mentioned, we were still figuring out what the game is, right? So for us, it would be better to focus first on weapons. So let's create new weapons, and then okay, let's create new levels. For now, our idea is for the next update, we would probably release maps, characters, and weapons all together, because now it's, as I mentioned, just content, right? I mean, just create more stuff for people to play with.
Yeah, that seems, a fairly typical thing that you would do at this stage. Now, how many people are on Vampire Hunters, and how do you divide the work between this and Rerunner?
Okay, so we have like around 8 people on Vampire Hunters, and in Vampire Hunters we have programmers, artists, level designers, and game designers. And for Rerunner, we only have programmers on the team, right? So the difference is we have specific people working on Rerunner, and we have other people working on Vampire Hunters. So we have, for Vampire Hunters, we are developing the entire thing. So we need 3D artists, we need UI artists, we need people that can, sound design, game design, level design. So we have the entire crew in Gamecraft, and for Rerunner, it's just programmers on the game.
Okay, so Vampire Hunters is your bigger project, which isn't too surprising, given that this is basically your baby, as opposed to Rerunner, which is a co-production that somebody else owns.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, and in terms of the engine technology, is this being built in Unreal as well, or is it Unity?
No, it's Unity, and it's something that there is some pros and cons. When we started developing Vampire Hunters, we were starting to have a project with a client on Unity, and we decided to start developing Vampire Hunters on Unity, just so we can, get on board the team on Unity before this project. We did have other Unity projects before, but we think that creating something on Unity would make sense. And the thing that makes Unity shine for Vampire Hunters was the amount of enemies that we can fit on the screen. That's something that Unity is more optimized than Unreal. But the visual of Unreal is really amazing. So we do have some things on our mind, like, if we did develop that on Unreal, would it be different? And but we are super satisfied with the level that we got right now. And most of the other Survivors games are also on Unity, so that makes sense for us. But the engine that we are more familiar with is Unreal. But as I mentioned, we started with Unity because of the other project that we were working on. But I think it makes sense. The main thing about this game is fit the certain amount of enemies on screen, and we think that Unity can handle that a little bit better.
I don't think anyone has mentioned the amount of enemies on screen in a comparison to Unreal and Unity on the program before, but it's always fascinating to learn such things.
Yeah, it's not just the amount of enemies, but Unreal, it's a heavier engine, right? It's you have more power to create something more beautiful, and when we have this power, it comes with responsibility, right? You can't just
make the Spider-Man quote, yeah.
Yeah, you can keep adding more art to the game and putting more shaders and stuff like that to make it more beautiful, depending on what kind of game you're making, right? So because we have so many enemies on the screen, if everybody was like high poly and they had complex shaders and stuff like that, it probably wouldn't run so well as Vampire Hunters does. So that's something that is a concern. But we can't solve this problem on Unreal. It's something that we put on our mind to comfort us, of this choice of going with Unity. But I mean, we could definitely make Vampire Hunters on Unreal, and who knows, maybe we can create Vampire Hunters 2 on Unreal. That's something that may happen if people keep asking for more and more.
I mean, is that an actual demand by the fan base?
Not yet, because I mean the game is not released yet. But we think that I mean if people keep playing the game and we reach the point that it's just more content and more content, and people keep playing it and asking it, maybe we can make a new one, and changing the engine would be good because it probably would make the game better looking. So it would really mean a number 2, right? So it wouldn't be just a DLC; it was an entirely different game. But I mean, that's just hypothetical talking.
Right. I mean, I'd imagine something like that is years away at the very least.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of enemies on screen, like how many enemies can you get on Vampire Hunters?
I mean, it just keeps spawning. I mean, if you stop killing the enemies and just moving in the map, they'll keep spawning. And there is some point that the game may start lagging, depending on the computer. I mean, but there's not a limit. I mean, they just keep appearing.
So the sky's the limit, basically.
The sky's the limit, yeah.
And in terms of enemies, do you have any new types planned?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. So for this new update, there are like around 10 new normal enemies, and I think 7 bosses. So there's a lot of bosses for the new map. And for each new map that we introduce to the game, we're probably adding more enemies that fit in the environment that we are creating. So yeah, the idea is to create way more enemies.
Okay. And are there are those enemies going to be like different than what came before? Or are they skin swaps?
Yeah. So this new level, it's kind of a specter theme. So we do have some specters. We do have some kind of ghost looking enemies. That's really fun. We do have some other humans like cultists, and the bosses, they are all crazy. I mean, we do have a slime, we have a dragon, we have a Saci, that is a folklore legend here in Brazil, because it's crazy. Because I mean, as Vampire Survivors, you can feed a lot of different kind of enemies. We do try to create a meaning to the environment for the level. I mean, to create enemies that fit there. But we do like to create some crazy enemies. For example, this pink guy that reminds of Majin Buu from Dragon Ball. That's something that we wanted to put it here because we needed an enemy that had a lot of health. And we thought, okay, so if he reminds people of Majin Buu, those that are familiar with that, it probably makes sense why you can't kill it as you can kill the other enemies. And yeah, so we love creating new enemies. So so we're probably gonna keep adding way more. And it's not that hard. It's not too hard to add enemies, because the normal enemies, they just keep moving forward and towards you, just like other Survivors games. But the bosses are where it shines, right? Because they have specific behaviors. And the new map, it's bigger than this one, and you can move around better than you can move this one. This one is a little bit tighter. And so we were able to create enemies with crazier behaviors for this new map. So we're really excited to see people try killing them.
That does sound dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, anything else in this new update that we haven't previously mentioned?
No, I think the 2 major things that will be in this update is the new map and the entire new character system. So as I mentioned, we're gonna just throw away the weapons being characters, and now characters are actually characters, people, right? And it's going to be entirely different for people to play with them, because as you exchange characters, for example, you play a little bit with Berserker, then with the Scout, for example, Scout, they have like double jump and dash. That's crazy. It's going to make the game entirely different, right? So each character plays in a different play style. So we're really excited about this, because I think that it's something that will give more playability to the game, because you can try different at the same level with different characters, and it can be a whole different experience.
Right. And are you planning to increase the price when this update goes live?
So we do have one price increase planned. It's probably not after this update. It will probably happen after the other one that we're going to introduce, the third level. But yeah, we do have this price increase plan, and it's in our early access page. We're not sure yet how much we're gonna increase it, but it's probably gonna be a little bit more expensive.
Expected, given that you're still adding content, and it is in your roadmap, like, but did want to know if it was going to hit now or later.
No, yeah, probably after the next update, not this one.
These updates are for people who already have the game. It's free content, right? You're not.
Yeah, free content.
Because I could see some devs. Oh yeah, you got to pay an extra $5 to get the new stuff.
No, it's
so yeah, you
free
buy
for
now,
everybody.
you get at least 3 more maps of content coming.
Yeah, way more than that probably. So
you mentioned you had at least planned 3 more, so.
Yeah. So at least 4. Actually, I mean, we're probably not gonna stop until we have like 6 levels. We probably have the 1.0 after before the 6 levels. But we do want to create way more levels, because we think that it can make more people play Vampire Hunters. So I mean, we don't want to put it away before we have like a lot of stuff. And after the 6th level or 7th, I'm not sure yet about the number, we're gonna hear the community, right? So if they're asking for more people are buying it, we're probably gonna keep making more.
Yeah, that's sensible, I think. Can you detail anything about the next update beyond the one that's coming next week?
Okay, so it's not 100% decided yet, so I'm gonna say here, but it may not be. So it's really exclusive for you guys. But we are planning that the next level should be like themed in the mummy, like Egyptian themes, like we're probably on pyramids and stuff like that. Because I mean, the hunter can go all over the world, and we do like this whole pyramid pharaohs, mummy stuff, and we think that it can fit really well. So maybe something like that. So yeah, so that's something exclusive.
I mean, that kind of aesthetic would definitely fit into the game. Like, and it sounds like something that people would want to sink their teeth into. And let me see. I guess my final question at this stage is, have you given any thoughts to porting the game to consoles?
Yeah.
At some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to think about it after the 1.0 release, but we do have planned for porting, but not before the 1.0. But after that, we're probably going to release 1 or 2 more updates, and then think about of porting for, and Vampire Hunters can run well on PlayStation, Xbox, and also on Switch. So players might see the game to all platforms, but I mean, it's not 100% sure yet.
Right, and the Switch could also be a moving target at this point, given the rumors of Switch 2 looming within the next year. But I suppose that's something that devs will have to cross when it actually comes to the light, if you will.
Yeah.
Anyway, So I'm going to see if my colleagues here have any further questions on Vampire Survivor that I didn't ask.
I think I'm
Sorry,
good.
Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, Vampire, get it right.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's really.
It wouldn't be
similar.
the first time somebody's accidentally called it that. It probably won't be the last.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
no
think
problem.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
All right. Right. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today to talk about Rerunner and Vampire Hunters. It's been a very illuminating conversation. And if I'm remembering, we enjoyed both games, and I'm presuming Petty enjoyed his time playing the game live. Anyway, I'm interested to see how things shape up from here. And wish you luck in your developments.
Yeah, so I'm really happy with this conversation. It was really cool to talk with you guys. It's always a pleasure to tell you a bit more about the development of our games. And yeah, so I'm super excited to see people playing the new update. We're really happy with that. And I'm always here. I mean, we released something new that you guys think that would fit in a conversation. Just let me know. It would be a huge pleasure.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out whenever your next project is ready to be talked about.
Awesome. Perfect.
Anyway, in the meantime, the games are Vampire Hunters, currently available on Steam Early Access for $9.99, and Bit Trip Rerunner, currently available on Steam for $19.99. Be sure to pick up either or both, depending on your preferences or tastes, today. Right, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. As always, be sure to join us next time for the Sunday reviews. And until then, I shall wish you good gaming.